issue is the fact that she says that there's a voice memo that is damning enough that warranted her going through with that public flogging, yet now she's saying, wait, that wasn't real. And a question you might be asking right now is, what the is in the voice memo? Well, it's currently 2024 and we still don't have the answer to that, but there's been a ton of speculation as to who it is. A lot of people theorize that it's Grayson Dolan, since Jeffrey made that claim about James molesting him in his sleep. People also think this because despite the cultural shift back to liking James, the Dolan twins still never followed him back or even publicly spoke to him. But I'm not saying that I believe this. This is just a theory, okay? I hope that's not true. With Jeffree Star, though, it's really hard to tell what is actually true and what's total bunk, because he seems to always merge partial truths with lies. And so it's like, okay, part of this could be true, but that might not make the entire story have validity. But in the aftermath of the Breaking My Silence video, Shane Dawson gets on an Instagram live stream and starts like tweaking.
This is insane. This is insane. This woman is a fuck. Oh my God.
This entire live stream consists of him calling Tati a liar and running around his house like he just drank iced coffee and he has to take a shit.
I can't. I don't want to say mean things about people. This is insane. This is insane.
It's actually hilarious because I love kicking Shane Dawson while he's down, and I'll do it again. For legal purposes, this is a joke, but I wish that we could collectively blast Shane Dawson into the sun. James's response to all of this public freaking out is just a tweet that says, "Love you guys." On this same day, Trisha Paytas would also upload a video titled "Tati is dumb as hell," which I'm only mentioning because it is so off the cuff and untethered. And to summarize it in one clip,
because she said, "When's the sugar hair, bare hair, drunk? What the fuck?" I was beyond gaslit. No, you're just stupid.
In the following days, Morphe cut ties with Jeffree Star.
Morphe said they made the decision to cease all commercial activity related to Jeffree Star and related products within the coming weeks.
And on April 20th, he would go on Mom's Basement podcast and reaffirm to Keemstar that James Charles is a monster and that he still has the voice memo of the alleged victim but doesn't want to publicly out them. Yet 2 months later, on July 18th, 2020, he would release a video called "Doing What's Right." And in this video, Jeffree says a whole lot of nothing. He's like, "Hey guys, I'm not gonna cancel anyone today. Sorry, I'm not coming in with the steaming hot tea today, y'all.
Today, I will not be sitting here showing a million text messages and all these things that allegedly are out there."
He goes on to say that he's done with all the drama and that there's bigger things in the world to worry about. And I honestly forgot that this apology happened in 2020, so I was sent into a whiplash when I heard him say that we need to focus on Black Lives Matter. Okay, back up. We're backing up. Back up, Jeffree. First of all, you've made a lot of claims, buddy. And now you're coming on here and being like, "Sorry, I'm not involved in any of this drama." Quote, air quotes, drama, when it's something supposedly serious. And then you're deflecting the conversation onto Black Lives Matter? What? He literally uses murdered people of color to take the attention off of him making claims that James is a predator.
Black trans women are being murdered every day and the news is silent.
Like, there are no words to describe this. Chat, are there words to describe this? Are there words for something so despicable? James is kind of like a predator and a danger to society, but that's like drama though. Anyways, hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. The Freudian slip. Meanwhile, right after this whole Jeffree podcast debacle, James Charles goes on Impulsive, which is either Jake Paul's or Logan Paul's podcast. I don't know because I use their names interchangeably and I don't know who's who, but this podcast seems chill and it seems inconsequential at first. But then James just starts dropping bombs left and right. Like, let me show you some bullet points of what this man publicly publicly admits a little over an hour into the interview, James claims that he is far more mature than other people his age. By the way, he's currently 21 in this interview, but he then goes on to say that he's just not attracted to older men. And the absolute lowest that he would date was either 18 or 19, but looks a little bit older. And he says the absolute lowest that he would date,
The absolute youngest, like 18, 19, that looks a little bit older? Or
this is already more than a little questionable. Like, what is the point of dating somebody who is 18 or 19 but looks a little bit older? What is the point of them being 18? And you just said that you're more mature than everyone else your age. So why do you want to date somebody more immature? But as if that wasn't bad enough, a few minutes later, he goes on to say something even weirder. He says that he's tried to fly boys out to LA because a lot of them don't have any money, or they're still in high school. Oh, I mean, a senior in high school.
because you can't afford a plane ticket, you're probably still in either high school or college, like a senior in high school or in college.
Oh, so you really said that. And who makes mistakes like that? There's an owl in here. Who makes that kind of mistake? And it's probably a minor. Admitting to outsourcing teenagers from other states at the age of 21 is crazy. And they didn't even have to waterboard that out of them. And by the way, might I mention that nobody had a negative response to this? Like, the boys on this podcast are just like, oh, yeah, totally. And maybe they just felt awkward or wanted to keep the peace, like didn't know what to say. But damn, if that was me, I feel like I would have a visceral, uncontrollable reaction. Like, what? And like, not to be too gross, okay, but like these boys.
And Dr. Gupta looked down at his lap.
Bro, what is this? What is happening? What is happening right now? How is this still a point of contention in 2024? I'm actually legitimately shocked at how invested he is to like defend Joe Rogan like this. All right, let's see Patrick Bet David cooking.
Again, to take on what you just said. No, not everyone, and not everyone who gets paid. Joe Rogan is bigger than every single show at CNN combined and gets paid more than every single person at CNN combined. And he was 100% right about this thing through the entire time.
No, he
Listen,
wasn't.
yes, he hold on.
Okay.
Hold on, let me get this point out here.
Hell yeah. He was so right, dude. Ivermectin all the way. Like, what are we talking about? He was right about COVID. I feel like right-wingers have just like existed in a totally separate universe. You know what I mean? It's just, what are you talking about, bro? He was like, he was doing horse paste. He was hitting the horse paste meta like pretty aggressively. This is what happens when you only watch Joe Rogan. This guy's like a libertarian, right? I think he hates me too, but
Okay, how about, you know what you just revealed last month on Pat's show about ivermectin?
Yeah.
Joe Rogan was saying that, and you were smearing him for saying that.
Yeah.
You literally said he's taking horse dewormer.
Yes.
He should be ashamed of himself. You
Yes.
pleaded with your audience to not take it.
Yes.
Then you come back around and you go, hey, Pat, you know what I just found out? Turns out this thing isn't for animals. Turns out humans are. But Chris,
that's
a
not-
5-minute Google
but that's-
search and you would have known that.
First of all,
How do you not
hold on.
apologize to Joe Rogan?
Listen, do you know who disagrees with you? Do you know who disagrees with you? The people who make ivermectin disagree with you.
Hold on. What do they disagree?
why is he defending horse paste? It's 2024, man. Yeah, nobody said you can't use ivermectin on
Domination.
any issues
This
whatsoever.
opposite
It's a
ruckus for the Echelon
dewormer
playbook, but I'm sure you'll
primarily
manage.
used by horses. Human beings can use a dewormer as well. It's just if you
3,
have worms,
2,
you can't use it
1.
for mother
Your mission is to
COVID.
secure
Why
the
are
capture
you still
zone.
defending
Friendlies
this?
capturing
I
zone
thought
A.
we established this 2 years ago, bro. 3 years ago. I didn't even
Capture zone
realize this was
secured.
like a right-wing gripe that they're still doing. I thought we had moved past this one.
Disagree with me.
The drug should not be connected with the scandal of COVID-19.
I never said it should.
That's what Rogan was saying.
No. He did not. No, listen. See, this is the thing.
Bro, oh my God, dude. It's crazy how passionate this guy is about defending Joe Rogan. Like, there's no more politics in this conversation. Like, he is He is this passionate about just simply defending Joseph Robinette Rogan.
Capture
dude.
zone
And by
contested.
the way, Joe Rogan absolutely
Capture zone A is at risk.
said ivermectin for COVID. What
Friendly's
are we
going for
doing?
zone B.
He said he's throwing the kitchen sink at it, including but not limited to ivermectin. Why is this such a big point of
Hostiles hold all capture
contention?
zones.
It
Start
seems
making
like
some noise,
you
agent.
want to
Friendly
defend him,
capturing
but also
zone.
simultaneously
You're
living
down,
in
but never
2024,
out, agent. You got this.
recognize personally that, you know, it was a silly Billy thing. Because if you didn't feel that
Zone
way, you
secured.
wouldn't be this passionate about defending it while also simultaneously talking about how it's, you know, not for COVID.
Because that is a lie. That is a blatant lie. So you just pretended that I said it's a standalone. Here's what it always was. Here's what Joe Rogan said. My doctor prescribed it to me, along with several other medications. Just like your doctor prescribed it to you. That's what he said. What I'm saying is that it's not forced
Capture zone
as
secured.
you and everybody else at CNN mindlessly repeated. What he said, let me finish. What he said and what I'm saying is that it is a medicine that's been prescribed to people millions and I think billions of times. And it was totally demonized. Why? You already said why. You said it's too late. You already said why.
No, here's
because
why.
no one owned it.
Here's why. What Pat has on his desk right now, you do not want it. Okay? It is the veterinary grade ivermectin. People were so desperate to get it because they were told it was a panacea. It was a cure-all. Like they were.
Capture zone A is at risk.
Flooding
Claim
it.
Joe Rogan said it. Claimed I said it. Neither of them consented.
But hold on.
Hostiles
So
on the
why
scope
was
in
there
zone
a
B.
rush
Capture zone
on
contested.
ivermectin all of a
Friendly's
sudden?
going for zone B. Tango's lighting up the scope.
Okay, it's that
Really coming out of the woodwork. Was that
the
revenge?
medical establishment and the corporate media so humiliated themselves that they lost trust with the entire American people. And then, yeah, they're working charlatans online and saying, oh, go take this and
Hey,
trust them.
please. Here's what happened.
If
okay?
you think Joe Rogan said, take any form of ivermectin you can get, and you'll never get COVID.
I'm not blaming Rogan. Here's what happened. And
You should be
again-
apologizing
And
to him.
again, listen. Listen. Here's what happened. Here's what happened. Also, let me tell you why I think
That's pretty cool, man. We're doing a little bit of historical revisionism. We're doing a little bit of romantic defense in 2024. Brother, if you came out and you were like, insulin is good for COVID, okay? And people were just like rushing to like get insulin across the board. Insulin's not even a good example because it's like for most famously used for diabetics. It's just
Zone
like,
secured.
but
Zone
it didn't have any medical,
Hostiles on
any
the scope in
medicinal
zone B.
properties, any sort of properties to save people from COVID. Yeah, people would still understandably in mainstream media say this is ridiculous, this is false. It was
Target
snake
down.
oil. And plenty of people were hawking it. And these like contrarian charlatans were also, because they saw that there was an audience for it. It wasn't even necessarily because they were firmly committed believers in ivermectin. It just meant at that time, saying that you believe in ivermectin as a cure-all for COVID meant that you were an anti-establishment truth teller.
apologies in this context are stuff, okay? We don't accept apologies. Nobody accepts apologies except as an admission that you weaponize. That's why Trump never apologizes. He's right. Because if you apologize, everybody just beats you over the head.
Trump's got a lot to apologize for, and so do you.
I'm just saying,
You both
as a
should.
concept,
losing
and
zone
you should
A.
too on this, and I'll tell you
What
why.
should I apologize
Here's
for?
what happened. Ivermectin, it wasn't because the media said don't take it
Capture
early.
zone secured.
The media would have never
Zone
been
compromised.
talking about it unless people were taking it. Use your head. So here's what happens. They're prescribing it like crazy. They actually stopped physicians from being able to prescribe it, which I think was a mistake. They then start giving out veterinary grade ivermectin, which, as the word would suggest, you shouldn't take, right?
Doctors were prescribing
People were desperately trying to get it online.
Failure,
Couldn't
agent.
find it.
Friendly's locking down zone
Ivermectin is
C.
the most studied potential
Take the
treatment
zone,
for COVID
keep the
of
zone.
all of them,
You
which
know
was
the
a
mission.
complete waste of money. And it was all done just to play on the politics of this. Merck, that made ivermectin, put out a statement during this saying, we do not advise it to be used for COVID-19. You can't find
Zone B is
research
vulnerable.
that is seen as impressive by the research community that proves that ivermectin is effective in treating COVID-19. I will find, Rob can find you 100
Zone
studies.
C is
Listen,
falling.
you're wrong on this.
No, I'm not.
And I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why. Because they're mad at me too. By the way, you think you guys are alone?
So, but why are you saying
Here's
that?
why. My doctor,
Also,
I didn't take the
take them back.
and I didn't take hydroxychloroquine when I was sick with COVID-19, even though a lot of people thought it would be nice to see. Why? Because the research
Friendly securing A.
with long COVID, okay? Not long
anyone provide
vax,
first
that's
aid?
a different thing. If it's going to get recognized as such. What? I don't know. They won't say that.
Friendly's locking down the...
Is Chris Cuomo a anti-vaxxer? He's saying long vax? What is long vax, bro? They're
Capture
using
zone
different
secured.
language.
I'll start
Long
filling out the
vax?
mission failure
What is a
report.
long
Get a head start on the
vax?
booking
It's a
thing.
PC term for a vaccine injury. What the?
COVID, they're now saying exists. There is research. Is it dispositive? No. Do the people on government levels in the research community
Friendly
like that I
zombie.
said that I'm taking it? No. Do they think I'm setting myself up for
Gathering
lawsuits?
intel.
Yes. But my doctor, I believe, is in the vanguard of people who are figuring out long COVID. And she has a lot of the same problems, by the way, with me and with the pandemic that you do. And she has found research, and she's had her own experience in
They're
using
on
it in
zone
combination with many other things, where she believes, wait,
He should apologize to Joe Rogan. This is damn near verbatim identical to what Joe Rogan was saying. We found a quack doctor who is
This will be a
basically
fun
Joe
report
Rogan's
to
doctor.
write.
My girlfriend has some sort of reaction to the vaccine along with long COVID or something. No idea what caused it, but that's the angle. There's evidence that mRNA vax spike protein can cause similar symptoms to long COVID. Is niche though. I love how both of these brilliant scientists are talking about, you know, the latest and greatest in medical research.
it may be able to help. Now, I've been taking it. I don't feel any better. Does that mean it doesn't work? No. But
it's
that's
safe.
why I'm
It's
taking
safe and it's not
It is
horse-paced.
definitely
So what
safe,
is it-
but it's not
what-
horse-paced because it's not horse-paced.
But
that is horse-paced.
By the way, no one ever at CNN during this time, when they were all saying it's horse dewormer, everyone was repeating, no one ever said, we're talking about the veterinarian ivermectin.
That's because-
we're not talking about the ivermectin that doctors prescribe.
Right.
No one ever said that. But listen, you told me I should apologize. So what do you think I should apologize for? And then I'll tell you what I think you should apologize for.
Well, I know what you think I should apologize for. Obviously, there was so much talk that they don't want you to take ivermectin. Ivermectin is the way to go. Take it. Joe Rogan got better from ivermectin. And by the way, I don't like what people did to Joe Rogan about ivermectin. I don't like
You
that.
did it.
No. Okay,
Yes,
good.
you did.
Find the clips.
Dude, find the clips. You shamed Joe Rogan.
Find the
You said
clips.
he's taking horse dewormer. You and Don Lemon were chuckling at each other about it.
No.
I'll go find
First
the
of all,
clip.
you just saw the
I
clips.
watched
I'm
it.
not chuckling. I'm listening to Don. But
No. The
here's
clip
point.
I'm talking about wasn't on there, and
Here's-
it's absolutely
look, we
there.
were
Here, do we have it? Hold on, let's play the clip.
Injecting drugs for animals and horse.
And people.
We live in very interesting times, which unfortunately is never a good thing. At home, we've got an election coming up between two historically unpopular candidates, one of whom is a convicted felon. And abroad, we've got potential World War IIIs just brewing up in Eastern Europe, the Middle East, and Asia. Globally and domestically, tensions are high. And what's unusual is, for once, North Korea has very little to do with any of it. But they don't like feeling left out. So this past week, North Korea launched an aerial attack against its enemies in South Korea. Fortunately, though, in lieu of jets and bombs, Kim Jong-un went with an attack that was less about death and destruction and more about sending a message. Here's The Guardian.
South Korea has warned residents living near the border with North Korea to be on alert after accusing the regime of sending balloons containing what appeared to be rubbish and feces into its neighbor's territory. Damn, he loves pranks.
Yeah, doing pranks with friends.
Photographs released by the South Korean military on Wednesday showed inflated balloons with plastic bags tethered to them. Other images appeared to show trash strewn around collapsed balloons with the word excrement written on a bag in one photograph. By Wednesday, more than 150 balloons had been detected, according to the Yonhap news agency. Some had landed on the ground, while others were still in the air, it added, citing a South Korean military source. Some of the balloons had traveled long distances, reaching as far as the southeastern province of South Gyeongsang, it said. The fallen balloons appeared to have been carrying various items of rubbish, including plastic bottles, batteries, shoe parts, and what is believed to be manure. An official of the Joint Chiefs of Staff said, "Yeah, it's manure." We're just gonna make everyone feel a little bit better about this.
That is definitely manure.
Yeah.
And not human doo-doo.
Which, I mean, well, actually, manure would be technically more dangerous. You could have a incendiary problem there.
I mean, in the proper circumstances, manure can't be dangerous. But it's also much more useful.
It is.
You can take that North Korean manure. It probably has the least amount of microplastics of any manure on the planet. That's right. And you put that in your garden, baby. Now you're growing.
Yeah. Though it is still an international incident. Very funny that he's sending doo-doo bombs over to South Korea.
Yeah.
Because
it's smart because it's like you can't respond to this with force or you look like an asshole.
Yeah. South Korea sends balloons that have like USB drives with the Transformers movies on it or whatever. North Korea sends doo-doo and batteries.
Yeah. I think that's tit for tat.
Yeah.
So yeah, it sounds like North Korea got wind of all that balloon drama from last year. Remember that? Mm-hmm. The balloons were all the rage. And after 16 months of research and development, they launched some balloons of their own. We figured it out. Yeah. Balloon technology has come to North Korea. They may not be the most high-tech balloons, but they are balloons, nonetheless, whether they carry advanced surveillance equipment or simply bags of shit and garbage. A balloon is a balloon.
Yeah.
And after an attempt this week to launch a spy satellite ended in explosive failure, it must have felt good to successfully launch something.
Even if it's a bag of shit.
They needed a win.
Yeah.
And actually, to be clear, these ship balloons were in direct response to the fact that for the past few years, North Korean defector groups in the South have been sending just a ton of balloons into the North, carrying propaganda leaflets, USB drives, etc. To the point that even the South Korean government has, at some point, stepped in to tell them to please cut it out, stop pissing off the North.
They claim to have successful nukes and stuff. Like, why are we? At least don't poke it.
Let's not poke it.
Yeah, but you know, the citizens, they took matters into their own hands, and they are trying to deprogram at least some people.
I'm gonna keep doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they haven't stopped, hence the poo balloons in response. And even now, they have no plans of stopping. So here's the Daily Beast.
North Korean defector and balloon launching activist Park Sang-ha is planning to avenge North Korea's manure attack on South Korea, but he said he would never stoop to match their lows. I will not react to North Korean barbarity with barbarity, Park told the Daily Beast when asked if he would shower the North with manure when he sends 200,000 balloons over North Korea in response to the North sending balloons carrying garbage, including excrement, over South Korea. Instead, we are sending them truth and love. The message he's printed on the leaflets he's launching whenever the winds are blowing the right way for them to land in populated areas. And also presumably on or near Kim Jong-un's palatial complex near the port of Wonsan on the north's southeastern coast. The North Korean animals sent manure to South Korea, said Park, but we love the North Koreans. A devout Christian since escaping from North to South Korea 24 years ago, Park said he's responding to the North's manure attack in accordance with biblical teaching, at least for now.
A professional courtesy.
Jesus said, turn the other cheek, he said. But if there's nothing else to do, we should kill them. Wait, what?
I don't remember Jesus saying that second.
He went from let's get biblical to let's get medieval.
We love the North Koreans.
And that's why they must die.
And they must die.
If they keep
Not me, though. I'm a former North Korean.
Scanning for hostiles.
Raining crud. If they don't stop pooping on us from the sky, we're gonna have to retaliate.
Yeah.
Capture zone secured.
I mean,
I do like that he's skipping straight from like sending Bible verses to skipping over resending poop straight to.
No, we should send actual bombs. We should kill them all.
Yeah.
But first, that's only if we try love and it doesn't work.
And so far, it hasn't, so things aren't looking great.
Yeah. So yeah, the balloon war on the Korean Peninsula shows no signs of slowing down, and it sounds like South Korea can expect even more poop deliveries. It is petty vandalism on an international scale, but poop is always preferable to global thermonuclear war.
I can already see the animated GIF in the news replies to this. It's that Willem Dafoe looking up and crying as the stuff's raining down on him. Yeah, it's that's not a fun way under the constant threat of having shit dumped on you.
Yeah, it's not great. Although I mean, like,
it's just like living in LA, I guess.
It's kind of exciting. Like,
we had our own poo bandits.
If a North Korean poo balloon landed in my backyard, I mean, that'd be pretty exciting.
Yeah.
Something to talk about.
Yeah, here in America, you just get jumbo jets dropping those green icebergs on top of the house.
Oh, it's some sort of meteorite.
Look at this mural. Hey, can someone at the Natural History Museum tell me what this is? Sir, you're holding human feces. Yikes.
But yeah, let's move on now to a story of petty vandalism at the local level. That's, just a lot more typical. At least until you hear the details. Here's the New York Times. It had been happening for a decade. Residents of North Enid Avenue in Azusa, California would find a broken window in their house or car and a telltale ball bearing nearby. Neighbors reported hundreds of dollars of damage. Sometimes, more alarmingly, a pellet would whiz by someone outside, nearly striking them. It was, to say the least, a quality of life issue, as the police put it. It turns out the mayhem was the work of a serial slingshot shooter, according to the police. And now they say they have finally captured him. He is 81 years old.
Oh!
The suspect, Prince Raymond King, was arrested Thursday morning. A slingshot and ball bearings were found on his property, which is on the block where the crimes were carried out.
Open and shut case.
We got him.
It would only be better if they found it in his back pocket. Like Dennis the Menace or Bart Simpson.
What do we got? And they hold him up upside down and shake out his pockets?
Yeah. Just all like jacks and playing cards and candies all fall out.
Prince King is a great criminal name.
It is.
This guy's parents really wanted him to be successful. And they're like, oh, our last name is already King. How do we...
How is he not successful? He's 83 years old, lives in a decent neighborhood, goes on slingshot rampages, and wasn't caught until very recently. I'd say that is a success.
Living his best life, I guess.
This has to stem from the fact that he wasn't able... Maybe his neighbor, Mr. Wilson, died.
Yeah.
So they couldn't bother him anymore.
That's the thing, is like... If man's 81 years old now, he started when he was 71, but like...
Did he start when he was 71?
Right. Like, I think maybe he just moved into this neighborhood 10 years ago. Wait, I need more information.
I don't know. When was Dennis the Menace created? It was decades.
Like the comic strip, I think, like 50s.
Yeah, so there you go. It's this guy was heavily inspired by entertainment media being corrupt, and his brain was warped by
Dennis the Menace, the original Bart Simpson. I don't want my kids reading those.
That's literally it. So Azusa, it's obviously a quiet little suburban town here in LA County at the foot of the San Gabriel Mountains. But apparently not so quiet for the folks in this neighborhood who have been terrorized by BB pellets for, like I said, a decade. And this goes along with all the bears swimming in their pools. And,
that's fun, though.
Yeah. The problem was so incessant that one neighbor decided to start collecting the BBs over the years and showed local news 2 bags of them that he'd collected from just his own yard. That's a lot of BBs, and some of them are pretty big. And yeah, even more control.
Yeah, you start with the little guys, and you're like, oh, it just kind of goes where it wants to go.
Yeah.
You need something with more mass.
After a couple of years of this shit, you'd probably assume whatever kid is doing it would have grown out of it eventually, but no. It was an elderly man, and that might have been what gave it away. They're like, hold on, this kid should be in college by now.
How is this kid still breaking our windows?
Yeah.
Get a hobby. I thought all the kids were just on their tablets all day.
Kids will be kids until they're 81 years old.
Yeah. He's a kid at heart.
So it's unclear how exactly the culprit was finally caught, but we'd imagine that just getting the cops to even treat this as an issue worth looking into took years of complaints.
Yeah, no, like...
This is just kids being kids.
I've made the mistake of reporting literal actual gunshots to the LAPD, and they're like, well, did they sound like celebratory gunshots or like did they sound like crime gunshots? I'm like, I don't know. There's a gunshot. There's a couple blocks away. Sounds like someone has a gun and they are firing it. Like, well, I mean, listen, buddy, we can't just show up for everything. So if you're calling the cops about like BB pellets,
especially
they're like, oh, okay, buddy.
Like a suburban area like this is just like, yeah, we're not gonna go searching for some kids on bikes.
Yeah.
Turns out it's a very seemingly angry, crotchety old man.
Yeah. Man just wants to watch the world burn.
And he'd got to.
I think I can safely say I have never called the cops for anything. And I'm cool with that.
For quite a while, actually. Yeah, what a crime spree.
Great run.
But finally, after so many broken windows and years of living in sheer terror, they can finally live in peace. Although I can't imagine this guy going away for very long, if at all.
Or a copycat.
Yeah. Yep. Someone needs
like when they caught Penis Man in Arizona.
There are men. It's actually
many penis men. Yeah. So yeah, the question does still remain: why did this 81-year-old man spend a decade of his golden years, terrorizing his neighborhood like an elderly Dennis the
I'll
Menace.
take 3 objectives on your ops stat. Assault them at your
He might have been doing it because he was bored. If he started when he was 71, he was probably just bored.
He like just retired and spends a week at home like, this fucking sucks.
Post office made me retire. God damn it. What am I gonna do? I'm not gonna go wave at people at Walmart.
Hell no.
I'm gonna cause a little chaos. You know, I used to be a little asshole in my younger years, and it was a lot of fun.
I'm gonna give back to the world what the world's given to me.
Yeah.
Nothing but trouble.
You know how many dog bites and stuff I had to deal with? I have no idea if I worked at the post office, but
I like that backstory.
Yeah.
Also, now that he's been captured, hopefully we can find out exactly what the motive was here.
Yeah.
So here's the latest on how that's going from the Los Angeles Daily News. An 81-year-old Azusa man died a day after he was charged with using a slingshot to damage 7 neighbors' windows and a car since 2021. Okay?
2021? I thought it was 10 years.
Well, like the crimes were from, I guess he's, you know, they can't charge him, they can't conclusively link him to every BB pellet. They have the evidence linking him to incidents in the last 3 years.
Typical LAPD.
Yeah.
They fucking arrest someone and then all of a sudden, all of a sudden, he's dead.
It's circumstantial evidence. Like, yes, this man was caught red-handed with a fucking slingshot and a bunch of BBs. And yes, all of the surrounding houses in his neighborhood had literally hundreds of BBs just strewn about their property. But that's simply correlation. It is not a conclusive link.
Yeah, I just say it's a little suspicious that the LAPD gets involved and this guy's fucking dead.
It is suspicious. Azusa police received a call around 7:30 a.m. Wednesday of a possible dead person at a home on the 500 block of North Soldano Avenue and found Prince Raymond King inside. Sergeant Nick Covarrubias said, "We didn't find any evidence of foul play," he said. Covarrubias didn't know who owns the home. King died of arteriosclerotic cardiovascular disease, according to the medical examiner's office, which ruled the death as natural.
Capture zone contested.
I mean, he completed all of his tasks in life. I mean, once he got caught, what else is there to live for? That was the one thing. I mean, this is proof. That was the one thing keeping him going, was hatred of his neighbors, spite, and getting away.
Listen, I would love to stop vandalizing all of your homes and vehicles. But if I stop doing this for even one day, my heart, this is my crank.
Yeah.
If I stop doing vandalism, I die.
All those neighbors are,
capturing zone C.
I hope you neighbors feel good.
You killed an old man.
You killed a nice old man. He just happened to have a slingshot.
Even if this was my neighborhood, and even if I had like a broken window at some point over these things, and like I would still feel at least a little guilty. I died immediately. Like, holy shit.
So yeah, I guess we'll never know why he did it. I mean, all we know is that as soon as he stopped, he fucking died.
Yeah,
maybe the slingshot was the only thing keeping him alive.
I mean, back to that kind of evidence.
My work here is done. I mean, when you're that age, like you need purpose.
Yeah, a hobby.
You need a hobby. You need interests. Because if you don't,
what's the thrill of getting away with it for so long?
Yeah, that was his daily rush. All of the hormones that he needed to keep on pumping away.
To honor this man, I think that
friendlies
never mind,
capturing
I'm not
zone
gonna say
A.
and get in trouble on here. I think that we should have an honorary BB slingshot, a 21 slingshot salute.
Yeah.
There we go. That's a lot safer.
Aimed away from where any people are.
Yes. Away from windows, or at the very least, like set up a window, like just go down to the hardware store and like just get up one window and have the neighbors come out and just.
And like to be clear, like with a good enough slingshot and a big enough ball bearing, you absolutely can fucking kill someone.
Oh yeah, for sure.
It's actually a miracle that no one seems to have been harmed.
Well, maybe he was actually skilled. I mean, 10 years of doing this, and you would imagine that he'd gotten pretty accurate at it.
Yeah.
So he knows just what it takes to scare and intimidate.
Heads up.
And have a little
I'm
fun.
detecting our sonar tech in enemy hands.
The people of
About to
Azusa
lose
have been too
B. We're
comfortable
losing
for too
zone A.
long.
Yeah.
Revealing enemies.
I found my purpose, and I'm about to give them purpose.
Yeah. Well, the city of Azusa can rest easy tonight, knowing that they killed their neighbor over some broken windows.
What he needed was like an elderly, like 81-year-old, like Batman.
Yes.
On his trail.
Team's going for B.
2 old dudes on opposite ends of the law.
I can't wait to get that old. I'm gonna get in so many hijinks.
Oh, I didn't know I couldn't do that.
Oh, you're gonna arrest an old man? Oh, how about this? You do it, I'll fucking die.
I might just croak.
This
after you arrest me.
This is what's keeping this alive. I can shut it down at any time. So
we've covered international vandalism and local vandalism so far, but now let's talk about nautical vandalism.
My favorite kind.
So those orca attacks on boats off the Iberian coast for the last few years, they've been one of the most fascinating, ongoing news stories that we've seen. Primarily because they sort of just came out of nowhere. All of a sudden, for the first time in recorded history, massive killer whales seem to have finally decided, fuck them boats, and realized that they're actually pretty damn good at it. For orcas, destroying boats is easy and fun, and once they got a taste for it, no boat was safe. But still, much like the old man with the slingshot, the motives have remained unclear. Obviously, every animal on this planet is well within their rights to want humanity to suffer. But why orcas? Why now? Why the Iberian coast? Well, the orca experts, they've had ample time, they've done their research, and they have now weighed in. Here's USA Today.
For the last 5 years, killer whales have been ramming, and in some cases sinking, expensive yachts, fishing boats, and motorboats in the crystalline waters off the coast of Spain, Portugal, France, and Morocco. Why has been a mystery until recently. A multinational group of orca experts that met in February and were sponsored by the governments of Spain and Portugal has released a report outlining why they think it's happening and what can be done to stop it. What originally appeared to be attacks on more than 673 boats since 2020 now seem more likely to be a bunch of bored teenage orcas looking for something to do, said cetacean expert Alexandre Zerbini. Essentially, the whales started a fad of playing with boat runners. The report comes 2 weeks after the first ramming of the season, which resulted in a sailboat sinking at the southern entrance to the Strait of Gibraltar. On the morning of May 12th, a group of orcas snuck up on a 50-foot sailboat and dove at its rudder, damaging the Albaron Cognac and causing a leak that eventually sank the boat. The 2 crew members were evacuated to a nearby oil tanker, according to the Spanish newspaper El País.
So this has been always one of the prevailing theories, essentially just the orca version of a TikTok trend. They sink a boat challenge.
Yes.
The other leading theory was that this was a coordinated act of revenge in response to an orca getting seriously injured by a boat. But scientists have since said that that theory is unlikely. It's more likely they're just goofing around.
Nope, I don't like it.
They're just having a laugh.
No, I like the previous theory. And who are they to assume what these orcas are thinking? These brilliant animals.
So anyway, back to the article. This group of orcas interacts with the vessels because they are being enriched by the experience, said Renaud de Stefanis, president of CIRC, Conservación, Información y Estudios sobre Cetáceos, an organization dedicated to preserving marine life. De Stefanis has been studying orca behavior for over 25 years and was also at the gathering of scientists in Madrid. The sea is a very boring place for an animal, said De Stefanis. Imagine if you're a dog or some other mammal, you can interact with objects around you. But in the sea, there's not much for the orcas to interact with, so they play with the rudders. Overall, the incidents have mostly involved juveniles who are more playful and courageous in approaching boats, said Zerbini, who also chairs the International Whaling Commission's scientific committee. He imagines a young orca butted its head against a boat's rudder one time, and when it moved, the orca thought, this is fun. After ramming it a few more times, a piece of the rudder broke off, and that was even more fun because there was something to play with. There's documented evidence of the orcas then playing with the pieces, he said.
And I'm also sure that they enjoyed hearing the people on the boats yelling and telling them to stop, but not being able to physically do anything at all.
Well, or they heard people screaming on the boat, like, oh fuck, I'm gonna die, ah! But in whale song, that sounds like, oh,
it's a beautiful
They're
song.
Saying keep going.
Yeah.
They're saying you're doing great. That's awesome.
We're all having a great time.
Yeah.
And when the boat sinks, why, that's just more stuff to play with.
More toys.
So yeah, the ocean is a boring place, but it's always been boring, so that doesn't explain why these attacks suddenly picked up in the past couple of years. But here is what does explain that. This particular population of Iberian killer whales is critically endangered, in part because its primary prey were bluefin tuna that had long been overfished and were in decline. That meant the orcas had to spend lots of time hunting and feeding, leaving little space for the kind of play juveniles are known for. Better protections have meant the tuna population rebounded in recent years. Climate change may also play a role, leading the tuna to be abundant in the Gulf of Cadiz year-round rather than seasonal. This year-round abundance means that there appears to no longer be a need for the whales to pursue every fish encountered, the report said. That was good for the orcas, but may be the cause of the problems for boaters, said Zerbini. Effectively, the killer whales have time on their hands, he said, so they'll go start playing with rudders.
So yeah, they brought back the tuna population. Good. Now the whales are like, wow, it used to take us like days to find like a good tuna to eat. Now they're just fucking everywhere. I'm like, all right, I'm full. Well, what do you want to do now?
Yeah.
Let's go fuck up some boats, I guess.
Hell yeah.
Let's go get into some good trouble.
I can't believe the whale economy was bad, and that's what stopped them from acting normal. They're like, no time for fun.
Yeah.
We've got to work. And for them, working is eating and hunting.
Nobody wants to hunt anymore. Whoever the version of like the Federal Reserve, the Treasury Secretary for the ocean needs to raise those interest rates.
Yeah.
It's gotten too easy for these killer whales.
Yeah. We're going to try to do a soft landing on these ship attacks.
But anyway, they go on to explain that orcas, being highly social animals, are prone to fads, with one notable previous fad being orcas in the Pacific Northwest wearing dead salmon on their heads as hats. It was a fashion trend that started with young orcas before spreading throughout the community and eventually going away, presumably because the adult orcas were doing it, therefore making it less cool.
All you need is one big old orca to rip a rudder off.
Oh, hey guys, look at my, I got the dead salmon on my head.
Pretty cool, huh? Oh, God, that's so cringe.
Ugh.
God.
That's chuggy.
Yeah. Ugh.
So anyway, they theorize that this fad will also eventually die off. However, by that same logic, it sounds like a bunch of full-grown adult orcas are going to need to start ramming boats for that to happen, which is bad news for boats, I guess, in the short term. In order for this to stop, the teenage ones that started it need to decide that it's not cool anymore. And that means the biggest orca in the sea needs to destroy a bunch of boats.
Hey guys, look. Skibbity rudder. Skibbity rudder.
Domination.
Dab.
This op's a bit
But
rugged for
yeah,
the
the
echelon
scientists, they've
playbook,
also
but I'm
issued
sure
a few
you'll manage.
suggestions for avoiding orca attacks, one of which is basically just attaching stringy material to rudders to make them look like jellyfish. And another is hanging
Your
these
mission
little
is to secure the
torpedo-shaped
capture
weights
zone.
underwater on the
Team
backs of
capturing
boats,
zone
which I
C.
guess has been shown to deter orcas for some reason.
Sure.
I don't know why,
Friendly's
but it
going for
works.
zone
They don't
B.
like it. So try that.
Capture zone secured.
We'll see if any of this shit works because it's orca attack season.
Yeah.
It's coming,
There should
baby.
be more. Hello, orcas, wake up. They're figuring it out. You gotta hurry.
Gotta up your game now.
Headlines are coming up, but first, click the join button.
Think about it.
There's no sponsor this week, so it's up to you to sponsor the show. Thank you to everyone. I saw in the last episode a bunch of comment thank yous. And,
Thank you for your service.
Very, very appreciative. We love you very much. Thank you. Now let's get into the weirdest, wildest, craziest headlines from around the world this week. Starting with Elliot, please take it.
Pope Francis apologizes over use of gay slur, Vatican says.
And, okay, this is
There's a lot happening here.
First of all, welcome to Pride Month, everyone.
The analysis of this story is very interesting.
Points to maybe the Pope and his buddies potentially being involved in the gay community.
The funniest interpretation of this I saw was a dude, like, in English, being like just super flamboyantly like, "What's up?" slurs, and then they're like, Francis, that he was like, no, that was like basically he was using a term that is a gay slur,
but used by the community.
It's a term that's like so antiquated that really you'd only hear it used in this way within the gay community.
Yeah,
and essentially
Capture zone contested.
it sounds
Capture
like
zone
basically
A is
they were
at
once
risk.
again debating whether like priests can be openly gay at some private meeting, and again the answer
Friendly's
was
going
no.
for
But
zone
Francis
B.
was
I'm
like,
detecting hostiles on zone C.
for now though, can you guys just like keep the
Yes.
keep the
you know what he's talking about.
Keep the stuff to a bare minimum.
Yeah.
Like just chill out with the
Hostiles on the
Yeah,
zone B.
the reports that I saw were like essentially only a gay man would say that. So who knows? He just wants it on the down low. That's all.
Yeah. Which that's been I think the unofficial stance for a long time.
Well, happy Pride Month, everyone.
Yeah.
Dude, and just like clockwork, I was like, this is too on the nose now. Like, every corporation's not gonna do their big post. And they did. I woke up this morning and it was like, on Instagram, it was just post after post after post, which is great, obviously, but do not open the comments. I am begging you, if you have any hope for humanity and want to just blindly get through this next couple of days where everyone's very actively being dickheads online, just don't look at the comments. The MLB and like NASCAR and some others posted this morning. I actually lost faith in a lot of sports fans who I thought at this point would be like at least okay with seeing, like they know it's coming.
Yeah.
And this,
I think the majority of people just don't care either way. Like they're not gonna jump in the comments and be like, hell yeah. They're just gonna be like, who cares? Yeah. So what you get is the most just insecure, hateful people around. There is a lot of discussion. I hadn't considered this, but like the Trump verdict's coming up right before the start of Pride Month has a lot of people worried that the people who are mad about that verdict are gonna lash out at the first available target.
Yeah, there was what would, you would assume, constitute a very real threat on Twitter during some Pride Month stuff already. So, yeah.
Stay safe out there.
Yes, and also stay out of the comments. Not ours, though. Very loving.
We have a great comment section.
Be very nice down there in our comment section. Yeah. Next headline, though. Richard Dreyfuss caught wearing a dress before sexist and homophobic rant at Jaws screening.
All right, Richard Dreyfuss, acclaimed Academy Award-winning actor. Yeah, he. I always thought Richard Dreyfuss was like a pretty standard, like Hollywood lib, but he, like many other people, like his age just got fucking brainworms apparently, and yeah, he like shows up at this like Jaws screening. Everyone's like so excited to see Richard Dreyfuss. He just comes out like wearing a dress, and then immediately like launches it into like just a bunch of rants about like trans people and like DEI and shit. And yeah, like more than anything else, it would just be disappointing as a fan of the movie to like see that classic film Jaws, one of the greatest movies ever made, and one of the actors comes out and it's like without any prompting just decides to make it about that shit. And he's like up there like saying that like parents of trans kids are bad parents and stuff. It's like, what? It's this.
Sorry, you're here for the screening of the Shark movie.
It's this very like boomer thing, specific to boomers, that like when they get.
Well, he probably doesn't have a platform to really like express these opinions.
No,
he's like, finally someone's gonna listen to me.
He has a Twitter. He's pretty active.
Yeah, but what I'm saying, like a live audience.
Okay, but like it's that boomer thing.
We're securing.
Once they get like an idea in their head that they are fixated on, like especially politically, they will bring that up unprompted in the most inappropriate situations out of fucking nowhere, making everyone else in the room uncomfortable. And
Zone A under assault.
Yeah, this is just one of the more jarring examples.
Yeah.
I know you guys came here to ask me questions about Jaws, but I have some other stuff on my mind.
Yeah. Let's talk about the real shark in the room. These gays.
World's first tooth regrowing drug will be given to humans in September.
Let's go, baby!
I'm gonna be pulling mine out because I still have all my teeth, but like they're old, they're worn out. Yeah. Like I'm
gonna grow my wisdom teeth back.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
That wasn't painful enough the first time.
Get them back in there.
I'm so fascinated by this. I don't understand. So like basically like once you're born, like you have genes that tell your body to grow teeth. Then eventually those genes turn off, and this basically is like a gene therapy that like can activate the keep growing teeth genes. And like I think
Bill, don't be. You gotta be careful because you will end up like a shark.
Well, I think there is like diseases. People have disorders where their body doesn't know to stop growing teeth.
Well, it grows in weird places. Yeah. Like their ears and their vaginas. We've all seen the movie.
Exactly. So yeah, this is very exciting for the people out there without teeth.
Yeah.
Maybe Boogie can get some teeth for real this time.
They're on Zone C.
Yeah, that's like I mean, on the darker side of the internet, you can see the photos, but there's like people will cut off like tumors and stuff at the hospital, and they'll find just like full sets of teeth.
Yeah, I think they're called hematomas.
So it's just, they're growing somehow. They just don't know where to go.
Well, yeah, that's like a weird thing where
going for B.
We should just be harvesting teeth from tumors.
Yeah, there's like teeth, hair, like there's just like all these. It's like basically your body like gets confused and like tries growing like a fetus.
We're taking A.
Your skin, but like it's just sort of mashing all of the genes together.
You know what sucks? Like being bald and then having like a tumor cut off and like there's just a full head of hair in there.
Yeah.
Like, oh God, damn it.
Doc, can you do something about that?
Look, it just got lost. It's not. This isn't like a God thing. You know, God obviously he wanted me to have hair. Yeah. He just put it in the wrong place. So you're either going to fix this or I'm going straight to Turkey.
Right. You're transmitting great intel.
Toronto renamed Centennial Park Football Stadium after Rob Ford. Perfect. No notes. No notes.
It's always like he's been dead for a while, right?
Yeah. Years at least.
Like 8 years, I think. Yeah. It's so funny though, because like during his entire scandal of just being very publicly being a complete fucking like drug addict, alcoholic mess, the people of Toronto, he's
our mess.
Yeah, they love him. They loved him so much that they elected his brother, his shitty brother, not Tom Ford, that's the designer.
Yeah, Doug Ford.
Doug Ford.
Something like
he's like the premier of Ottawa. And,
what's going on in Toronto? They got Drake. They got the Fords.
I don't know, but yeah, I also I was looking into this. Like Rob Ford, he's like 45 when he died, and he looks a lot older than that.
Yeah,
because like when that scandal was going on, he was like 40.
Well, he was smoking crack in like crack dens, so it probably ages you quite a bit.
Smoking crack and obviously like very obese at the time as well. Yeah, so
did you see that CNN commenter got in trouble for calling Trump obese?
What?
Yeah, I read that and I was like, okay. They're like, oh, please don't use that language on there. Like, what? He's an elderly obese man.
I don't know if he's obese anymore.
Well, no, he's
on the Ozempic. Yeah.
Which, like, actually, that's inaccurate. Get out.
Yeah, Trump actually, like, I feel like people said this at the time, and I think there might be something to it. Like, the Ozempic Trump, part of his appeal was that jolly, like, plumpness.
Yeah, he needed this guilty verdict to reinvigorate his base.
He ate so many hamburgers after that verdict. He was in it. It was like that picture of him with all the McDonald's, but like only for him.
Yes.
No one else. Look at this.
They said I can't finish the whole table, folks.
Oh man, if he gets elected again, imagine the fast food spreads that he'll have for the NCAA champions.
Not anymore. He'll blame Bidenomics, the fact that he can't get as many hamburgers anymore.
That's true.
Yeah. Oh well.
Man with suspended license astonishes judge by joining court Zoom call while driving.
This has become like the meme of the summer so far. There's people doing paintings, like all kinds of things. It's already a response meme, GIF. The Trump verdict was people were using it all over it.
I wish they could show it, but one of the places I saw it said like via Storyful. And I'm like, first of all, how the fuck is Storyful like even like copyright?
It's
a public court. I'm like, I don't know. I don't want to fuck with it because if they will copyright claim the video immediately,
and we need this money.
Yeah. So, but yeah, it's just this guy calling into court, clearly in the driver's seat, and the judge just being so. That calm elderly black man energy of just like
capture zone secured.
I'm just gonna slow walk this.
Yeah.
Just gonna
friendly's going for zone B.
I'm pulling in.
Capture zone contested.
Okay.
Don't worry, I'm almost there.
And yeah, he's like, so this was over a suspended license, correct? He's like talking to the lawyer, and he's like, so is he driving a car? His lawyer's like, yes, he is. And immediately he's like, all right, so you're going to jail. But because, it's so funny, like over Zoom, so he's like, you have to report to jail by this hour. And the guy's just sitting in his car, and you just see on his face.
I need a medic!
Damn, I really thought I could get away with this.
Well,
I'd like to know, like, what happened? Because he said he was going to a doctor's office. Assuming that's true, did he just, like, double book himself? Maybe he's got...
You know how hard it is to get a court date and a doctor's appointment?
Yeah, like maybe he's got one of those HMOs where you got to book, especially for minor stuff, you got to book that like 3 months in advance. Yeah. And he's like, no. So maybe he just
I can do both.
Timed it wrong.
You know what? I really can do it all.
Maybe not, though.
Oh, man. Well, a funny video regardless. Feel
I'm
bad for the
detecting
guy,
hostiles
but,
on zone
I don't. Like, what are you
going
thinking?
for zone B. Capture zone contested.
Really thought he could get a fast one on this judge, like literally sitting in his car while it's moving.
He should have, like, no, it's parked. I'm doing a food review for TikTok.
Yeah.
This is my
studio.
Yes. Nurse fired for calling Gaza war genocide while accepting compassion.
A little too much compassion.
Yeah.
No, we didn't mean like that.
Not that compassion. That's the wrong stuff.
She's also like, she's a nurse specifically in works with like pregnant women and women who've like recently lost their pregnancies. So obviously like a very clear thread from the compassion of the like work she does for a living and the fact that, you know, women and children are being absolutely slaughtered.
Some might say she has a lot of empathy for
for
humans in general.
So yeah, she gets this award. She brings that up. Immediately fired.
There was also someone in the UK that was fired for simply liking social media posts.
She wasn't. Well, she was removed from the Labour Party.
No, okay.
She was Labour Party kicked her out because she literally hit the like button on a Daily Show clip.
Yeah, that was one of them. Yeah.
The UK, like as fucked as everything is here, like the UK seems like a hellish place to be. Their justice system is fucked up. Their politics are fucked up.
Yeah, they're consistently more and more isolated.
Their libel laws, the libel laws are ridiculous. J.K. Rowling is a turf. I can say it.
Yeah. Anyways, moving on. Man who transformed into a dog says he wants to become another animal.
I think we've talked about this guy. Yeah. Spent like a ton of money on that dog suit, and it's genuinely like if you saw that from more than 15 feet away, you'd say, "Oh, that's a dog."
The Great Dane, beautiful animal.
Well, no, it's a collie.
Well,
he's picked a smart dog.
Well,
breed.
he's big though.
Right, but he's a Japanese man, and collies get big, so he evens out. But yeah, he picked a smart dog, a very furry dog. The only thing is, like, because of how he has to fit into it, he can't really run.
No,
he can only sort of kind of trot at best. But yeah, after achieving full dogness, he's like, all right, well, what do I do now? I guess I got to start over with a new animal.
Friendly's going for zone B.
He's going to go through the entire reincarnation chart.
You're down,
Yeah.
but never out, Agent.
Eventually ending up, what is it, a tiger or something?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Tiger would be cool.
Yeah, that'd be cool. He might get, like, sedated and dragged off to the zoo, but...
Yeah, but that'd be so validating.
Yeah.
Wow. Really fooled me.
I was just pretending to be a tiger.
Friendly securing A.
Naked on a plane. Man arrested after alleged nude aisle run forced plane to turn back.
He's not messing around on planes, everybody. No one's happy on a plane.
Yeah, no, we've seen a lot of shit over the years, but yeah, just not often you see people get naked on planes and then just run up and down the aisle. Woo! He knocked over a flight attendant too.
That's not fun.
Pretty sure he's Australian.
Well, okay, never mind. That explains it.
Yeah, they're descended from criminals. So
Los me plagas.
They're genetically prone to acts of criminality.
I don't think that. I love our Australian viewers.
Well, not ours, but
Don't be compromised.
the other ones.
Do you see the fight at the new Spirit Airlines fight dropped in the checkout area or the bag check area? Fucking wild.
Secure all the zones.
It's the Greyhound bus in the sky.
And it's, summertime, heating up, everyone's losing their fucking minds. It's chaos summer again. Canadian walking her dog finds more than 40 rotisserie chickens in the woods.
They're on
It's
zone
similar to, remember that spaghetti in the woods in Jersey last year? And our theory was that it's the spaghetti man, the spaghetti monster. It's a cryptid. So maybe Canada has a chicken man.
Yeah, or someone's trying to, like, beat that Philadelphia guy's chicken challenge.
Oh, maybe. Yeah, they gave up. In any case, dumping food in the woods in New Jersey, not nearly as bad as dumping meat in the woods in Canada, where they have fucking grizzly bears and wolves.
Careful.
Yeah. Definitely don't want to be around that chicken when it gets found by a hungry bear.
Yeah, I'm sure since it's a rotisserie chicken, it smells real good to them.
Oh, yeah. The bears, they're floating in the air with the scent lines. Yeah, like Yogi Bear.
Herbs. Herbs.
It's so juicy.
Lemon pepper, you
How do they
say.
keep it so juicy?
Wow. These humans are onto something. I should go visit more human places.
I should go bust in on a lot more people's houses.
We're securing zone A.
And final headline, French mayor accused of spending taxpayers' money on fortune teller who tricked him into thinking she could talk to his dead father using her ventriloquist skills.
So she was throwing her voice and pretending to be his dad?
Yeah.
That's crazy, and he believed it.
Yeah.
Don't be
So she must be
He not only believed it, he gave her like a ton of money that he stole from the city.
No, keep it going.
And was like flying her and her family out on trips. This seems to happen. It's like, I feel like something similar happened in like Korea, They had their own like weird fortune teller person. Nancy Reagan had a fortune teller who was literally influencing like President Reagan's decisions.
Yeah.
Of course, Rasputin in Russia.
First millennial president's gonna have the tarot card reader there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Death card, is that good? Yeah.
Well, it depends. It doesn't mean you're going to die.
It depends on how I read it to you. I don't fucking know. So, last time you brought up tarot, lots of comments.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna embrace my ignorance of tarot once again and say that I think the death card is bad. That way a bunch of people in the comments correct me, thereby engaging in the video.
It's not fortune telling. It's basically like an early form of like psychoanalysis. Like they accidentally invented therapy with tarot.
Yeah.
By basically just like
calming people down.
Basically you're like randomly generating prompts.
Zone compromised.
It's interesting.
It's the chat GPT of the spiritual world.
Okay.
Oh, anyways, that's it for today's episode. We will be back next week, but in the meantime, make sure you like the video, make sure you leave a comment, make sure you're subscribed, and if you're feeling frisky, hit that join button or the thank button. I didn't bring the mug. Oh well. If you want to see a video that was
about to win this,
6
Ethan.
years,
Stay
7,
focused.
8 years in the making,
So picture this. It is your 46th birthday. It's on a Sunday, and the next
brass
day
will never say it, so
is
I will.
a public
Good job,
holiday.
Ethan.
That means kids won't be in school, and a lot of adults will have the day off. So what a great day to have your birthday. And you also have children as well. So wouldn't it be nice to see your children? Or you could be divorced right-wing actor turned political activist Lawrence Fox, who doesn't see their children on their 46th birthday, but instead films himself burning a pride flag and then posts it on Twitter. And today we are talking about the deadbeat divorced dads of Twitter, because it seems to be a pretty common thing on the site that some of the worst people on it are divorced dads trying to cope with the fact that their children do not want to talk to them anymore, and with that knowledge they spiral further and further into the right-wing abyss and just get further and further self-radicalized until they essentially become carbon copies of each other. And it really helps the owner of the site, Elon Musk, is himself a divorced deadbeat dad who not only is hiding from paying child support to his 3 new children, he's also hated by his 7 other children, including ones from his first wife, so much so they have actually changed their name. And of course, what's also common with these right-wing deadbeat dads is they blame the schools for indoctrinating their children and turning them all against them. It couldn't be anything they do. So I wanted to make this video for a while, and like I've been telling people, I don't really use Twitter anymore, so it's a bit of an old one. But I've always found it really funny how these people just become so similar to each other. And of course, there are plenty of great divorced dads out there. Divorced dads who have new partners, divorced dads who are single and are decent fathers, right? And it's really no hate at them at all. This video doesn't, of course, cover, you know, all divorced dads, maybe not even most divorced dads, but there is something in being a divorced dad
playbook, but I'm sure
I
you'll
think
manage.
plays a role in the spiral of the people we're going to talk about today. And of course, this video wouldn't be complete if we didn't talk about
mission is to secure the capture
world's
zones.
oldest breakdancer, Bitcoin bro investor, who
Friendly's
you might have
capturing
seen
Zone A.
appear on videos made by Curtis Connor, which saw a viral TikTok of someone's daughter talking about how their rich dad
Friendly's
left the
going for Zone
family
B.
to pursue a
Zone
career
secured.
in breakdancing, only for the
Gathering
dad
intel.
to respond to it in multiple 30-minute videos talking about how their daughter
Capture
was
zone
lying,
secured.
and also the right-wing divorced dad circled, and even Elon Musk was promoting this guy, saying he seems like his father. And I tried to see online if there was any discourse about right-wing divorced dads, and there really isn't. And I have my own thoughts, which I'm going to share. But mainly, I think, especially if you're already conservative, like a lot of these people are, being some sort of like father and husband is kind of like what you're conditioned to be as a man. I kind of see it as part of your values, especially being like a father. That is a very manly thing. But when your wife divorces you and your children reject you, and it's very, very clear from your own personality you're the problem, you really have two options. One, self-reflect, maybe get therapy, maybe get better, or two, just blame everyone else and further slide into an ideology that absolves you of all guilt and actually blames like schools for turning the children against you. It couldn't be your right-wing politics, and it couldn't be you just being a bad father and maybe a bad person. It has to be the schools. So we're going to talk about all of that today. Please follow me on social media at Calvinacle on Instagram and also on my travel Instagram. Check me out on Threads and Blue Sky. And if you want to support my work and join the Discord server, check out my Patreon. So if you're not British and you haven't heard of Lawrence Fox, I mean, that's probably a good thing. But basically, he's just an actor who used to be married to Billie Piper, you know, from Doctor Who and stuff. Had two children together, and eventually they got divorced. And then I don't remember when this was, maybe like 5 years ago, he became like famous for comments about, I think, the film 1917, how seeing Indian soldiers really took him out of it. There's probably other controversy. And then he just really played into that, becoming more and more right wing, running for mayor of London once, and I think he tried to run recently, but he didn't pay his deposit or something. And just on Twitter, you know, tweeting real usual right-wing stuff, and just to get an insight into the nature of the divorce. You know, to see, is it like an amicable divorce? Is it a friendly divorce? How's the relationship with kids? BBC News reporting back in March, Billie Piper had discussed how she deals with recent comments made by her ex-husband. They divorced in 2016, and Lawrence Fox was sacked by GB News last year after an outcry over comments he made on air about a female journalist. And to get sacked by GB News is like being sacked by Fox News. Like, you really had to say some pretty insane shit to get fired. Piper told Vogue that she co-parented with Fox in a situation like this with enormous difficulty. I've had to make some choices, and a divorce speaks for itself. She also said, I close everything down and keep a very strict routine with the kids so that there's consistency. I keep them close, that's all that I can do. I try to keep people from telling me stuff, but it's really, really hard. I don't read it, but everyone wants to talk about it. Sometimes I have to say to people, please don't bring this to me now or ever. She also said dealing with press headlines over Fox has made her feel stronger in many ways. I've learned I have a lot of resilience I didn't know I had. I've had to learn the hard way that you can only control yourself and how you react to things. But Fox has also challenged Billie Piper over her interview, writing on Twitter that he took great exception to the assertion that co-parenting with me is enormously difficult. In a lengthy statement, he said he would never wish her anything other than a stable family, which it seems continues to elude her. My only focus these past years has been to be present in their lives and be a loving dad. I'm not perfect, but I've done my absolute best to put things first. He suggested that the reason co-parenting is hard is because the secretive family court system is hugely weighted towards the mother. It's a system totally unfit for purpose. So that's another thing you hear a lot of these conservative divorce dads constantly say, that the divorce court screwed them essentially. And that, like, guy I was talking about earlier from the Curtis Connor video, he also made like a whole video about this and about how like he's been screwed over by the courts as well. And it's hard to take that argument really, really seriously when both these people act utterly unhinged on social media, which pretty much shows them to not be great role models, and in my opinion pretty much confirms they are also not great parents. Especially the way he talks about this compared to the way she talks about this, I think says everything you need to know. Now, when people like this have their, like, I guess family taken away from them is what they see it as. You know, how dare you take my kids away from me? Take no accountability. I think what happens, especially in a place like Twitter, where you get loads of like-minded people telling you that you've done nothing wrong, and it's all like the court system's fault, it's all like the school's fault. You just go further and further down that rabbit hole. Not on the same subject, but I think J.K. Rowling has self-radicalized herself on Twitter as well. And I think Twitter is just like a really toxic platform for both these things, for creating your own echo chamber, but for also being a place where you can quickly mobilize hate. So if you have this echo chamber and every so often it's penetrated by like some sort of, you know, outrage mob or something against you, you fall back into your echo chamber even more as like some sort of defensive mechanism, and it feels like they go further and further down this rabbit hole. So if you go on Lawrence Fox's page, he's just retweeting loads of right-wing garbage and tweeting loads of stuff like most English people wouldn't even understand because it's like so American. Only 5 days till Nazi month, talking about pride, obviously burning the pride flag. That was on his actual birthday, by the way. How sad he is. And all of these kind of divorced dad conservatives, their tweets just blend together. Now, I don't want to focus on this guy too much, but Cat Turd is another like infamous Twitter user, like massive Donald Trump fan, used to be a big Elon Musk simp as well, and he's another divorced dad. And if you go on his Twitter, it's just like, you know, retweeting Alex Jones, talking about like wokeness and just loads of insane shit, really. And it just feels like so many of these men just have nothing but Twitter. And Cat Turd is probably the best example of this. I'm so like embarrassed I even know this. But he's constantly talked about how much time he's put into Twitter. And he literally uses Twitter all day. I remember someone showing me something just about the amount of times he tweets. It's just so insane. And it feels like it could only be from someone who probably spent most of his time, you know, doing stuff with his family or looking after children, and then suddenly you don't have that anymore, and you have bad politics, and you're self-radicalizing, and you go on Twitter, and you're just on it like 24/7 to get some sort of validation, or maybe you're just bored of your life as well. But yeah, it pretty much reads as the same as the Lawrence Fox stuff as well. But of course, on Twitter is ruled by the king of the midlife crisis, the king of the divorced dads, the king of deadbeat dads, and that is Elon Musk. Now, Elon Musk, in his midlife crisis, decided to buy a social media company for a massive inflated value, probably billions and billions over what it was worth, proceed to tank it in the pursuit of making it easier to feel validation from other people just like him. Now, Elon Musk has, I think, 9 or 10 children. Also, I remember making a video where like Grimes' lawyers actually use up the private jet tracker that's just recently been banned or whatever to hunt him down, to try and get him to pay his fair share of child support. But from his, you know, actual marriage, because I think he's only been married once, Elon Musk's daughter files to change last name, and this was back in 2022. So his 18-year-old daughter, Vivian Jenna Wilson, who's also transgender, and in the document she said she wants to be recognized as a female, but the name change isn't just about her transition. Vivian lists her reasons for the name change as gender identity and the fact that I no longer live with or wish to be related to my biological father in any way, shape or form. And this is because obviously Elon Musk for a long time has used his platform on Twitter to write loads of transphobic stuff. And seemingly after this, he got even worse, where he just posts the most insane transphobia, basically 24/7. And like I said, when you're someone like Elon Musk, you go through divorce and maybe your kids want absolutely nothing to do with you, kind of have 2 options. Look inward. What have you done wrong? Reflect on that. Or actually, no, it's everyone else's fault. So Elon Musk blames schools for rift with daughter. She doesn't want to spend time with me. Elon Musk blames his trans daughter's progressive school for their now non-existent relationship, according to a new excerpt of his upcoming biography. The Tesla CEO heard about his daughter's transition from someone else, according to Walter Isaacson, the author, who spent over 3 years following Musk. Hey, I'm transgender and my name is now Jenna, the teen texted Musk's sister-in-law. Don't tell my dad. Musk claims, according to Isaacson, that his daughter went beyond socialism to being a full communist and thinking that anyone rich is evil. She severed all communications and relations with him. Isaacson said the rift pained Musk more than anything in his life since the infant death of his first child, Nevada. I've made many overtures, Musk says, of his attempts to repair his relationships with his trans daughter, but she doesn't want to spend time with me. Musk also
capturing
partly
Zone A.
blames his daughter's ideology and decision to cut him out of her life on Crossroads, a progressive
Zone
school
secured.
Jenner attended in LA.
Capture
Musk
zone
believes,
contested.
according to Isaacson, that Twitter had become infected by a similar mindset that suppressed right-wing and anti-establishment voices. If I wanted to get an insight into how evil rich people were, I think the child of Elon Musk would probably be a good, starting point. So I'm not surprised if it's true she went full communist. That she did when your father is Elon Musk, and then in response, what does he do? Like I said, get even more transphobic, get even more pathetic. And honestly, he is like the most pathetic, rich, powerful person I've ever seen. His constant need for validation from just the worst people on the internet is just so hilariously sad. And just like with that interview and the biography, no accountability.
Friendly's going for Zone
Doesn't
B.
stop posting transphobia.
Capture zone
He
contested.
doubles and triples
Team
down
capturing
on
Zone
letting
C.
transphobia run absolutely rampant on the platform, also boosted personally by him. But that's why conservatism is so
Capture zone
funny to me.
secured.
They always talk about personal responsibility, accountability. Musk here isn't saying, I love my children,
They can
but
run,
I
but
believe,
hiding might be a
I don't
problem.
know, being transgender is wrong and stuff, so I've sacrificed my relationship. He's like, I've tried to reach out, but she's rejected me because she's full communist. Anyway, here is me completely demonizing their entire existence. I wonder why they don't like me anymore. Now, the culmination of all of this is a man called Ben Hart, who next to Elon is like the president of the Deadbeat Divorced Dads Club on Twitter. Now, like I said, Curtis Connor made a whole video about this. I might play you a bit, where it's basically someone revealed that her dad had left the family because he wanted to pursue a career in breakdancing. And in response, the dad made numerous videos responding to his daughter about how she's completely wrong.
Maddie's funny trauma is pretty unique, though.
My dad abandoned my family when I was 5 years old. That is a wife and
Friendly's
4
going for
kids.
Zone
He
B.
abandoned us and then pursued amateur breakdancing. And he got really good. He blew up. He became a D-list celebrity status, viral breakdancer. He became the oldest actively competing breakdancer in the world. Then he got on Good Morning America and talk shows, and Washington Post wrote about him. He went super viral.
See, take a look at this 60-year-old breakdancer.
Not have paid for some of my medical bills growing up, but he did give me this breakdancing merchandise. So that's
Sick.
him. He's on his head. Benihana is his b-boy name. I'll get texts like this. Happy birthday, question mark?
And frankly, I was pretty chagrined by what I heard, to say the least. However, I do need to correct a few statements
you're a
in
pro.
the video.
You'll bounce
First, I
back.
can see that as a 5-year-old, Maddie would see her dad as having abandoned the family. One day I was living there, the next day I wasn't. And that will
Rogue
look like
echelon
abandonment
agent
to a
activated
child.
sonar.
But married couples do get divorced about half the time in America. And I was just living a mile or so down the street in LaGrange, Illinois. Now, about not
Capture
paying
zone A
medical
is at
bills.
risk.
That's just not correct. Maddie's mom, my ex-wife, got $2 million at the get-go. Plus, I was paying her $18,000 per month in child support.
Friendly's
and
going for
alimony.
Zone B.
In all, I
All
paid out
zones
about
in enemy
$5 million
hands.
to my ex-wife.
My dad posted a 10-minute video or whatever being like, my
Friendly's
daughter's
capturing
lying,
Zone
we have
A.
a great relationship, I have a great relationship
Team
with all my
capturing Zone
kids. That's
C.
just objectively not true. Guys, we're all freaking out about this in my family group chat right now. We're being he's so
secured.
unhinged and delusional.
And the contradictions continue.
We don't know if he actually believes his own narrative or lying on purpose, but he's just a weird guy. Yeah, he said he lived down the street from us.
And I was just living a mile or
Zone
so
C
down the
compromised.
street in LaGrange,
Zone
Illinois.
compromised.
That's not
Friendly's
true.
on
If
B.
he did, it was only for a few months maybe, but actually for
Zone
most of my
A under
childhood,
assault.
he lived in Florida with his new wife. Basically, he left us, immediately married another woman. We didn't hear from him for years.
If you watch Curtis's video, I'm pretty sure you'll come away thinking that she's telling the truth and this guy is lying. But anyway, nothing quite says Father of the Year than publicly calling out your child on Twitter instead of talking to them. But that's exactly what he did. So he writes, I wake up at 6 a.m. to find that my daughter has posted a TikTok video trashing me. She's a big social media influencer with millions of followers. Here it is. And then, of course, the king of the divorced dads comes in. You are awesome. And Ben replying, thank you, Elon. I'm a huge fan of you. Tesla and Bitcoin are my 2 biggest investments. Moving to another video, part 2. My Hollywood daughter continues social media storm against me. Her Bitcoin and breakdancing ban.
So I agreed to pay her $250 per week while the writer's strike was still going on.
And you know what? He almost had me for a second. He almost had me on his side for a second. But then out of nowhere, he kind of went into this weird rant about how men shouldn't get married.
And when you think about it, it really makes no financial sense anymore for males to get married. Yes, Maddie was brainwashed against her dad by her mom for 19 years. That's true. In a divorce situation, the mother is the one who really ends up raising the kids. It's then the dad's job to provide the money. Meanwhile, the mom, the ex-wife, is with the kids almost the entire time, dumping all over the dad. And there's this other element. The kids are also being brainwashed into leftist woke insanity by the schools, starting in kindergarten, all the way through college and grad school. Girls in school are taught to hate men, to see themselves as victims of the so-called patriarchy. And they're taught that there are many genders. And why not consider changing your gender? The schools should be teaching reading, writing, math, science, and marketable skills. There's almost nothing of value being taught in the schools. It's all political indoctrination and a woke ideology.
Most people don't realize how much the woke virus is poisoning the minds of their kids. Better to take them out of school than allow Soviet-level indoctrination to take place, and that is just so funny.
Zone B is vulnerable.
50-year-old, maybe 6-year-old divorced dads whose daughters hate them, both talking publicly on Twitter how, yeah, it's the fault of the schools. Not that I just like fucked off one day and I've never been there for my kids. Like, it's time for Brandon the Mac Attack, Jack. That's right, Joe Brandon came out today. He's having a pretty good day so far, I think. And in all of that good graciousness, he decided we have a new comprehensive proposal for a ceasefire. We're going to be talking about that right now.
We're taking you live to the White House, where, as promised, President Biden is speaking now about the situation in the Middle East. Let's listen in.
I want to give an update on my efforts to end the crisis in Gaza. For the past several months, my negotiators and foreign policy and intelligence community and like have been relentlessly focused.
His brain didn't kick in. I sped him up, so he sounds like normal.
Not just on a ceasefire that would inevitably be fragile and temporary, but on a durable end of the war. That's been the focus, a durable end of this war. One that brings all the hostages home, ensures Israel's security, creates a better day after in Gaza without Hamas in power. Israel has offered a comprehensive new proposal. It's a roadmap to an enduring ceasefire and the release of all hostages. This proposal has been transmitted by Qatar to Hamas. Today, I want to lay out its terms for American citizens and for the world. This new proposal has 3 phases. The first phase would last for 6 weeks. Here's what it would include: a full and complete ceasefire, a withdrawal of Israeli forces from all populated areas of Gaza, release of a number of hostages, including women, the elderly, the wounded, in exchange for release of hundreds of Palestinian prisoners. There are American hostages who would be released at this stage, and we want them home. Additional, some remains of hostages who have been killed would be returned to their families. Civilians would return to their homes. And
it's so crazy because the 3-phase proposal, it might as well been written by Ismail Haniyeh, okay, by Yahya Sinwar, because it is almost identical. If you're a personal Brandon fan, you look at the situation and you say, this is relatively close, or this is a decent way to, at least in the short term, stop hostilities, when in fact, perhaps you would be shocked to find out Hamas proposes 3-stage 135-day truce and hostage deal leading to war's end. When was that suggested? Oh, that's right, the 7th of February. What does this mean? Was this a reasonable proposal when Hamas proposed it, but people refused to recognize that, but now they're saying that it is a reasonable proposal when Brandon proposes it? Are there also some other scary implications beyond it? Well, I think there are some other scary implications beyond it, but just like on the broadest terms, this is literally an identical proposal, very close to what Hamas has suggested time and time again. All right, let's continue though. Let's hear what he has to say.
In all areas of Gaza, including in the north, humanitarian assistance would surge, with 600 trucks carrying aid into Gaza every single day. With the ceasefire, that aid could be safely and effectively distributed.
By the way, I think part of the aid problem, I've been thinking about the pier a lot. I've been wondering, why would they try to rebuild the pier when the pier itself is bringing in no aid. And I think, personally, the reason why they built the pier was so that they could at least aesthetically claim something to counter the Leahy Law, a law that dictates that no country in contravention of human rights laws will ever receive American weapons. Not letting in aid is such a direct violation of human rights law and an act of egregious collective punishment that even the Holocaust survivor dude who created the Human Rights Watch, he openly recognizes that he was wrong and has changed his mind on Israel's actions. Why? Because Israel is refusing to send in aid to Gaza, because that is a clear-cut definitional violation of international rights, human rights, okay? There is no other way to go around it, and that is a direct violation of the Leahy Law in this country. But let's continue.
During the 6 weeks of phase 1, Israel and Hamas would negotiate the necessary arrangements to get to phase 2, which is a permanent end to stop to the hostilities. Now, I'll be straight with you. There are a number of details to negotiate to move from phase 1 to phase 2. Israel will want to make sure its interests are protected, but the proposal says the negotiations take longer than 6 weeks for phase 1. The ceasefire will still continue as long as negotiations continue. The United States, Egypt, and Qatar will work to ensure negotiations keep going. All agreements, until all the agreements are reached and phase 2 is able to begin. Then phase 2 would be an exchange for the release of all remaining living hostages, including male soldiers. Israeli forces will withdraw from Gaza. As long as Hamas lives up to its commitments, the temporary ceasefire will become, in the words of the Israeli proposal, the cessation of hostilities permanent. End quote. Cessation of hostilities.
It's crazy, man. It's verbatim the Hamas proposal all the way back in February. During the first 45-day phase, all Israeli women hostages, males under 19, the elderly and sick would be released in exchange for female and underage Palestinian security prisoners in Israeli jails. Israel would withdraw troops from the populated areas. Implementation of the second phase would not begin until the sides conclude indirect talks over the requirements needed to end the mutual military operations and return to complete calm. The second phase would include the release of the remaining male hostages and full Israeli withdrawal from all of Gaza. Bodies and remains would be exchanged during the third phase. By the end of the third phase, Hamas would expect the sides to have reached an agreement to an end to the war. The terror group, which governs Gaza, said in an addendum that the proposal sought to release 1,500 prisoners from Israeli jails, a third of whom it wanted to select from a list of Palestinians serving life sentences. The truce would also increase the flow of food trucks and other humanitarian aid to Gaza at a rate of no fewer than 500 trucks per day. If this deal that Biden's presenting to you seems familiar, it's because it's verbatim almost. Here's what Hamas said, by the way, after this deal. Hamas issued a statement saying it looks positively at what was included in President Biden's speech, mainly his call for a permanent ceasefire, the withdrawal of Israeli forces from the Gaza Strip, reconstruction, and an exchange of prisoners. The movement affirms its position of readiness to deal positively and constructively with any proposal based on a permanent ceasefire, complete withdrawal from the Gaza Strip, reconstruction, and the return of the displaced to all their places of residence, and the completion of a serious prisoner exchange deal if the occupation declares its explicit commitment to that. So what happened in the time frame between February 7th or whatever and now? Well, thousands of more Palestinians were ruthlessly slaughtered. Hundreds of Palestinian homes were bombed into oblivion. Rafah happened. Hundreds of civilians in Rafah were mercilessly executed with American weapons. And during that time frame, domestic pressure increased, international pressure increased. The ICC openly came out with a court case against the war cabinet, or at least two prominent members of the war cabinet in Israel. Biden even suggested a red line that he never really enforced and lied about enforcing. So America coming out with this statement is pretty strong. It is kind of even stronger than the Biden red line, the Rafah red line, which he never really actually enforced at all. So one must ask, why is America coming out with this? For the most part, as far as we've seen, the Israeli government has said the exact opposite of said statement. So we'll see, not I guess in general. There was a statement made from Bibi after Biden's speech. Biden's speech, Prime Minister says Israeli proposal would bring about Hamas's end and the release of all hostages. In a statement issued immediately after U.S. President Joe Biden's speech calling on Hamas to accept the latest hostage deal proposal and Israel's leader to stand behind it, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's office says the Israeli government is united in the desire to return our hostages as soon as possible and is working to achieve this goal. Except yesterday, the hostage family's working negotiator, this is from from yesterday, or well, I guess this morning. Israel won't end war for deal to free all hostages. Prime Minister's aide said to tell families. National Security Advisor Hanegbi says it will be possible to free female, elderly, and sick hostages in the coming months, but warns effort to release remainder unlikely to succeed. So why is National Security Advisor Zachi Hanegbi saying this moments before Benjamin Netanyahu says, oh yeah, we will actually release the hostages? The current government will not agree to end its war against Hamas in exchange for the release of all the remaining hostages held by the terror group, he said. The message made during a heated meeting during which Hanegbi reportedly rebuked and insulted the relatives of several hostages, apparently calling them drama queens and yelling at them, appeared to be the first time a top Israeli official was quoted making such an admission. That's really interesting because their actions are, in my opinion, way more powerful than the supposed quotes that they would make directly to hostage families. Because Benjamin Netanyahu can wear the fucking yellow ribbon that means, like, you know, release our hostages, bring them home all day, every day, but his actions say something entirely different. Let's get back to this Biden is Hamas guy.
Hostilities permanent. Finally, in phase 3, a major reconstruction plan for Gaza would commence, and any final remains of hostages who have been killed will be returned to their families. At this point, Hamas no longer is capable of carrying out another October 7th. Israel's main objective in this war, and quite frankly, righteous. I know there are those in Israel who will not agree with this plan and will call for the war to continue indefinitely. Some are even in the government coalition, and they've made it clear they want to occupy Gaza, they want to keep fighting for years, and the hostages are not a priority to them. Well, I've urged the leadership in Israel to stand behind this deal, despite whatever pressure comes. And the people of Israel, let me say this, as someone who's had a lifelong commitment to Israel, as the only American president who's ever gone to Israel in a time of war, as someone who just sent the U.S. forces to directly defend Israel when it was attacked by Iran, I ask you to take a step back and think what will happen if this moment is lost. You can't lose this moment. Indefinite war in pursuit of an unidentified notion of total victory will not bring Israel, will not bring down, will only bog down Israel and Gaza, draining the economic, military, and human resources, and furthering Israel.
He's been the most coherent in a while. Bro, it's because I sped him up. This is what he actually sounds like.
Isolation in the world. That will not bring hostages home. That will not bring an enduring defeat of Hamas. That will not bring Israel lasting security. But a comprehensive approach that starts with this deal will bring hostages home and will lead to more secure Israel.
Bro, this proposal could have been addressed early October. What changed? What changed, Brandon? Now the real question is, what will you do to follow through if Israel says f you to this? Which it seems like it probably will. That's the real question. You didn't enforce a red line in Rafah. What will you do to enforce this proposal? I think this will backfire on Israel again. Just like the red line. I've been covering this nonstop, super close. And one thing I've been trying to figure out is what changed in the eyes of the American public that white women started posting about all eyes on Rafah, even if it's an AI image. And I think it's partially because Biden mistakenly said, I have a red line on Rafah, which caused a lot of the Democrats to jump early and basically turn around and go, oh yeah, Biden is doing something. And then they even went forward with one ammunition deployment, stopping like one singular fucking ammo dump. So it caused people to go, oh wait, we can say no to Israel. Never mind. What I now think is that this additional move that Israel might violate again will cause even more people to get mad at Israel. Because if Israel does what Israel does all the time, and they have stated that they have an intention of staying in Gaza until 2025, at least January 2025, I think if Israel follows along with that agenda of total victory, even more Barbaras and Deborahs are going to get involved and say, that's crazy. We're done. This is over. It's done. Israel does not understand the power that the Swifties have. I know it sounds stupid to say it like that, but it's something that I've brought up earlier in this conflict, in this genocide, which many yelled at me about. But I understand the power that white women hold. This motherfucking government is going after Ticketmaster. When's the last time they actually effectively prosecuted a monopoly, man? Are you kidding me? The only time that these guys actually work against capital is when the Swifties are on board. And now you got Swifties saying Taylor Swift say something about Gaza. I'm half joking when I say this. Pre-Rafah, pre-tent massacre, there was a lot of buildup, a lot of momentum, but it seemingly went nowhere. Post-Rafah, post-tent massacre, something legitimately changed. I say this as someone who only has the capacity to view this from, my own personal framework, my own personal perspective. Yeah, TikTok has been literally up Israel's for the past 8 months, so much so that Congress moved to ban it and openly stated we're banning it because we can't control TikTok and the kids are pro-Hamas now. Student encampments didn't do it. The Flower Massacre didn't do it. The World Central Kitchen aid workers being killed didn't do it. So why did the Tent Massacre do it? That's my question. No matter how hard we try to mobilize grassroots, we still do not have a fraction of the influence that the government has and mainstream media has. It's as if they fire on all cylinders. When they make a statement, it's far more consequential. That's why I think Biden's change of pace, even remotely in the direction of seemingly punishing Israel or seemingly demanding Israel dial it back a little bit, caused this massive sea change. I think Biden said Rafah is the red line. People saw babies being slaughtered in Rafah and we're like, where's your red line now? Anyway, it doesn't really matter ultimately because things are really fucked up regardless. But the only reason why I talked about this is because I think Biden coming out with this statement is massive as well. And I personally think that this, depending on how Israel moves from this point on, if Israel does what Israel has been doing, will cause its downfall completely, like utter destruction of the Israeli political apparatus in its entirety. If Israel follows through on the proposal, I mean, Netanyahu is over no matter what, but maybe they can return to like some semblance of liberal Zionism under Benny Gantz's leadership. That's it. That's my take.
President Biden has urged Hamas to accept a new Israeli proposal to free hostages and bring about a lasting ceasefire.
I like that this was 12 hours ago, and in the time frame that this was, that this news article came out, Israel already said, nah, actually, it's our proposal, which it wasn't. It was the Hamas proposal. And no.
The conflict has put the US-Israel relationship under immense pressure. But in a surprise move, President Biden unveiled a new peace proposal and ceasefire offer from Israel.
I know there are those in Israel who will not agree with this plan and will call for the war to continue indefinitely. Some are even in the government coalition. And they've made it clear they want to occupy Gaza. They want to keep fighting for years. And the hostages are not a priority. Well, I've urged leadership in Israel to stand behind this deal.
Brandon came out and said this is the Israeli proposal. One must ask the question why he said that. I suspect he said that because he wanted to be like, listen, this is good for you, Israel. We're going to start doing what we perceive is better for you so you don't get like cast away as a pariah state. And we're just going to lie and say that this was your proposal, even though it was the Hamas proposal. The other reason why I think that that they said this is Israel's proposal is because they want to pressure Israel. It is another, in my opinion, miscalculation. The miscalculation there being that Israel is not going to do what's best for them. Israel will probably, predictably, continue in the same way that they have so far, which is no proposal whatsoever. Now, the real question is, will the American media see this and report on it accurately? So far, they have not. The analysis is that he didn't want the reasonable proposal to be something Hamas had proposed because Hamas is supposed to be the peace-obstructing, peace-hating party. That narrative is now crumbling. I know, but if you've been actually paying attention, as many of you in here have been, you already know that Israel was the real obstacle to peace, so much so that you probably have a different opinion of the so-called peace process, negotiations that took place many decades prior, because the way that it was actually reported in the media and the way that it's taught in our books is entirely different than the way things actually unfolded. You are watching reality unfold in front of your eyes in quite a dramatically different way, if not the exact inverse way, than the way it is being presented in the media. Unfortunately for Israel, and people are not just learning about the stuff from mainstream media, they are now seeing it with their own two eyes, directly from the casualties themselves, from the survivors themselves. This is precisely the reason why, even when the media reports on this stuff in the way that they normally do, most people go, that. Once again, Israel can no longer control the narrative, and the media has to respond to that outside pressure. If you're so aggressively doing propaganda when most of the people recognize you're doing propaganda, at that point, you're going to lose more and more people to independent media outlets and maybe even charlatans, right? Outside of the sphere of mainstream, permanent contrarians, anti-vaxxers, hateful people, and that is genuinely damaging to public discourse in general, and it's genuinely damaging to mainstream media in general. So they have to at least maintain a level of impartiality. Now, having said that, an analog here can be seen with East Palestine, Ohio, ironically enough. If you guys recall, when the train derailment occurred in East Palestine, Ohio, and this massive cloud erupted, people were genuinely scared. They were filming it. They were talking about it. They were mostly talking about it on TikTok. And then the story became, why the f is mainstream media not covering this? Which only forced mainstream media's hand to cover the story. Now, the reason why mainstream media had not covered that story prior is not just because they are obviously interested in protecting profits and corporations and whatnot, but also because, and I told you this at the time, 3 of those derailments to, you know, different severity occur every single day in this country. And most people in media know this. So they're like, what? It's just another train derailment. Why the f will we cover it? But they were forced to cover it because everyone was like, what the f is going on? The reason why I'm explaining this example to you is because it is analogous to what's going on with Gaza. The media normally doesn't cover anything that Israel is doing, any of the atrocities that Israel commits on a regular basis with regular frequency. However, this time it became impossible to ignore. This time it became impossible to contextualize. This time there was other social media platforms where people could see with their own 2 fucking eyes exactly the devastation, the death, and the destruction that Israel was dishing out to the Palestinian population. So that's why they are still ultimately going to run as much cover for Israel as physically possible, while trying to also retain a sense of impartiality over it that is needed for them to maintain their authority. These are 2 different motivations in direct contradiction with one another. If you accurately report on what's going on, then you have to call it a genocide. But if you call it a genocide, then you're going against the other reason why you exist, which is to, of course, do the bidding of the American State Department. But if you do the bidding of the American State Department too much, then all of a sudden you've lost your authority, you've lost your credibility with an entire generation. And that is precisely what is happening here. That's why you see desperate calls to whitewash Israel's genocide with a little bit of decent news coverage sandwiched in between. But the real reason why the real coverage has to happen is so that in times of need, when push comes to shove and they have to literally do the propaganda necessary to correspond to American State Department interests, they have to have a sense of credibility. They have to have people trust mainstream news. When you lose that trust, then no one's going to listen to you when you report on it. The Iraq War was a major change of pace. A lot of the democratization of media that you see, a lot of the independent media that you see now, in that time frame, in the consent being manufactured for the war on terror, which was a $6 trillion project, and the failure of that all created a phenomenal opportunity for independent outlets to basically say, no, this is bullshit. That also caused a lot of chaos, though. COVID was another moment where people further continued their distrust of mainstream outlets. And I think that we are now living in that universe where we are now living in the ashes of that, where unfortunately for our institutions that want to at least maintain some level of consistent messaging, sometimes that's good. During COVID, when people were talking about like best practices and bringing forward scientists and whatnot to speak on health initiatives, epidemiologists and the like that was a good thing. But people already mistrusted mainstream media so much and so dramatically, and there were so many outlets that kept talking about, well, the media lies to us. Look at the Iraq War. They could just point to that and point to many other instances where mainstream media had been caught trying to cultivate a narrative that people already had that inherent mistrust, and they no longer wanted to listen to what they were saying, especially in times when they were saying things like you have to stay at home. Regardless of the consent that mainstream media tries to manufacture, it's still very important for it to exist. It's incredibly important. Who else is going to do the journalism? It's not going to be me. I'm here serving you top of the hour ad breaks. New York Times writes, Netanyahu answers Biden's calls for truce by insisting on destruction of Hamas. Now, New York Times wrote this report showing Jabalia, the refugee camp of what remains of Jabalia in northern Gaza, and also saying like that the Israeli authorities are saying they're not going to do it because there's also aspects of the war cabinet. However, 28 minutes ago, Israel, according to Barak Ravid's reporting, confirms the Gaza hostage ceasefire deal proposal details laid out by Biden. So what does this mean? Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and his aides are focusing on the aspects of a potential deal that are more favorable to Israel as the prime minister faces opposition to the proposal that could threaten the future of his coalition. Do you not believe any of the reporting that this proposal came from the Israel War Council this week? They said Bibi was on the losing side of the vote, which is why he's trying to kill it. Well, now apparently he's on the side that says yes to the vote. And yes, I do believe the reporting that the Israeli War Council was the one who suggested this, except I also believe that Biden added the ceasefire and permanent end to hostilities aspect to the Israeli War Council's original 3-phase program, because the Israeli War Council's ultimate goal was to maintain the occupation, or at least like stay in Gaza till, according to their own, according to the additional reporting on the matter, stay there until January, until after the election was over. I do believe that the American government added the ceasefire aspect to this specifically to trap Israel in a bind. I think that they recognize the domestic pressure on Biden's re-election chances, and more importantly than that, I think they recognize the international community's pressure placed upon Israel becoming a pariah state. If you recall, Hamas had said yes to a ceasefire proposal that was cut by Qatar and the CIA. Then additional news came out saying, oh, the Egyptian envoys actually changed the terms and negotiations of the proposal, and that's why Hamas said yes to it. Nobody knew. I don't believe that. I do believe what happened is that America cut a separate deal with Hamas saying, no, we're going to get these guys to back down, to say yes to this, and we will cut this ceasefire and permanent end to hostilities bill. Just play ball with us. You are more likely to get reasonable outcomes from us than Israel. Smotrich and Ben-Gvir, by the way, the two biggest psychos in the Netanyahu, not war cabinet, but like the Netanyahu government, are threatening to leave the government if the Biden ceasefire proposal is agreed upon by the Israeli war cabinet. It's just all over the place. Shortly after the Jewish Sabbath ended, Netanyahu's alternative coalition partners, ministers Itamar Ben-Gvir and Bezalel Smotrich, issued statements attacking the Israeli proposal, which they heard about for the first time in Biden's speech. They said they told Netanyahu if this proposal goes through and turns into a deal, they will leave the coalition on top of the government. Israeli opposition leader Yair Lapid responded by issuing a statement committing to give Netanyahu political safety net if needed in order to pass the deal. What are the consequences of them leaving the government? The consequences are major on Benjamin Netanyahu, who fears genuine prosecution, who was at the precipice of going to jail over corruption and bribery charges. So if the right-wing coalition that Benjamin Netanyahu has put forward in the current government, not just the war cabinet, but the current government, falls apart, then there has to be a re-election. If that happens, Benjamin Netanyahu now has to go to left-leaning, or left-leaning for Israel, and centrist parties to be able to create a new government. Netanyahu won't agree to the hostage release deal unless it falls well for him. Israeli families say they were told. That's a nutty piece of reporting from NBC News. The Israeli government made a conscious and deliberate decision to sacrifice the hostages, the Hostage Family Forum said. I mean, dude, if I'm the hostage families, I'm losing my mind on a way more frequent basis. They just keep yelling at these guys and saying that you're a hurdle against our broader goals of just like doing ethnic cleansing. Just shut the f up, stop ruining the situation.
Well, with me now is Mohammed Taha from BBC Arabic to discuss this further. Mohammed, we've had proposals before. What's in this one and what's new?
It is an Israeli proposal. It does not include a permanent ceasefire. It does not include a full withdrawal from the Israeli forces from Gaza, which are the main two demands.
I don't understand this. Those are two direct words that Biden mentioned. Are my ears deceiving me? There is like a pretty easy to fucking read infographic that they put forward that had exactly those words on it. Is there something in the fine print of the proposal that directly contradicts the very clear-cut text that declares a permanent cessation of hostility? Ryan Grimm has a take on it. There's a lot of manufactured confusion around these ceasefire proposals, but what happened is fairly simple. On 5/29, Israel's war cabinet approved an offer for a ceasefire that was transmitted to Hamas. Netanyahu only agreed to it under extreme pressure and over the opposition of Smotrich and Ben-Gvir, who are not in the war cabinet. On 5:30, Hamas rejected it, saying no talks unless Israel stopped its assault. I remember I talked about this as well. Hamas is now, this was one of the few instances where Hamas rejected the proposal, saying, no, you have to stop bombing us first. You have to stop bombing Rafah. Hamas is now rejecting Israel's proposal in an official statement. Okay, this was 2 days ago. Hamas now rejecting Israel's proposal in an official statement announcing first Israel will stop the war, then we will discuss a comprehensive prisoner exchange deal. Part of the reason, part of the political calculus here for Hamas was the recognition that the international community was going nutty mode over what Israel was doing. Now, of course, there's two ways out of this. One mind says, oh, wow, how disingenuous of Hamas to rely on Israel's inhumanity here. The second question would still be, hello, Israel has every opportunity not to behave like animals and just stop bombing. And yet, for some weird reason, unbeknownst to me, we are just still operating like Israel is not a political entity comprised of human beings, but instead is just simply a natural disaster. On 5/31, Biden grabbed the Israeli proposal, which Netanyahu had been happy to see rejected by Hamas, and made it fully public, cleverly but accurately calling it the Israeli proposal, which it is. But Netanyahu hates it. So now Netanyahu is walking back from it while Hamas is responding positively. Now the mediators in U.S., Qatar, and Egypt are putting pressure on both Israel and Hamas to accept the deal. However, there's an issue here. The issue is the confusion isn't stemming, in my opinion, from whether this was an Israeli proposal or whether this was a Hamas proposal. The condition is stemming from the fine print. The Israeli side, on the one hand, depending on how far right they are, is presenting this as a permanent end to the war, and that's devastating for their goals of doing full-blown ethnic cleansing. The other side, on the Israeli political war, on the Israeli war cabinet, that's still pretty far right, like the Bibis, are trying to play fast and loose and claiming, no, we can still keep bombing. No, you don't understand. We can still keep bombing. I promise we'll keep bombing even after we get all the hostages. That is the key consideration here. Is this a real effort to create a permanent ceasefire and also bring about the release of hostages from the Israeli prisons and also on the Palestinian side in Gaza? Or is it simply a way for America to run political cover for Israel once again to say, hey, here are the conditions of the deal. It's called Israel gets to bomb you after they take all the hostages out. Logistically speaking, there's no other way of extracting hostages without a cessation of hostilities, at least in the short term anyway. You literally cannot take the hostages out without Israel stopping its bombing campaign, regardless. So that has to happen regardless if you want to take the hostages out. On 5/31, Biden grabbed the Israeli proposal. Now the mediators in U.S., Qatar, and Egypt are putting pressure on both Israel and Hamas to accept the deal. Smotrich and Ben-Gvir, the far-right members, said they'll leave the government if the deal happens. That'll leave Netanyahu to form a government with center-right figures. And as you saw, this is the proposal laid out by Biden. A complete ceasefire, a permanent end to hostilities. A complete ceasefire and a permanent end to hostilities. Here's Netanyahu suddenly acknowledging he did make the proposal, but that he doesn't really mean it because he'll keep waging war no matter what. Note the language. The Prime Minister authorized a negotiating team to present a proposal to that end, which would also enable Israel to continue the war until all of its objectives are achieved, including the destruction of Hamas's military and governing capabilities. Does that seem to be in any of the fine print on the Biden mentions? More confirmation this is Israel's offer. Senior Israeli official tells me the plan presented by President Biden is indeed the offer we made by the war cabinet. They're the mediators to Hamas. However, there's one major difference between President Biden's speech and the actual offer made by Israel. Israel has never agreed that negotiations between stage 1 and stage 2 can continue indefinitely, and during that time, the ceasefire lasts. This might mean that Hamas can keep the hostages that were not freed and continue to negotiate forever, thus achieving the end of the war while still holding on to the hostages. The attached quote from President's speech is what they are referring to, but again, the main point is that they confirm it's an Israeli proposal. Now, people are not very smart, as I like to repeat over and over and over again, and that, in this circumstance, is a benefit for us, those who enjoy peace, those who want a cessation of hostilities, and those who want Palestine to be free. What do I mean by this? Because this is pretty black and white, something that people can sink their teeth into, something that people can understand. They see a complete ceasefire, they think a complete ceasefire. They think a permanent end to hostilities. They see that, they read that, they internalize that, they say, oh, Biden finally woke up. He's finally trying to do some fucking real presidential shit. He's finally trying to respond to Israel's cruelty and brutality. Israel trying to play fast and loose with the definitions of a permanent end to hostilities and saying, well, while the hostage negotiation process is still working,